Hey there, I am back with another video. It is 4:12 p.m. It is Wednesday, April 23rd. Got a little bit of a brain fog here because I am really tired. I did go to the store today, and then, of course, when I got home, I worked on my project, the moral reset. And, I wish I was going a little bit faster. A lot of the things that slowed me down was a lot of the issues of me feeling like, well, am I going to be taken seriously? I really resent being shadow banned, and I resent people taking control over things that they really should not have taken control over. And I'm referring to the abuse that I received from Rex Laverne and the members of the Mormon Church, and as well as their religious offshoots. Today, as I was working on I'm actually working on a video as well as a part of the moral research. I have like so much moral reset. Sorry, I have so many things I'm doing, and I really want to make sense of this. I've tried when I create informational videos. I want to be as thorough as I possibly can, and I do understand. I'm not being sarcastic in any way, but I do understand that a lot of people do not have the understanding of certain definitions, or they don't quite understand some of the things that they read, so it might be necessary for me to define certain things that I'm talking about. For example, coercion, or when I talk about manipulation, or self-interest, like some people are like, well, what does that mean, so I'm writing out a definition of some of the key words that I'm using. I'm putting a lot of work into this, okay, and as plus, I'm going to be scouring for videos to help people understand, how you can use these words in situations and identify when these things happen. When it comes to the human trafficking video, I will be creating that myself. Okay, I am going to be touching a little bit on gang stalking, but the moral reset is more about behavior and consequences, and then also how to interact with other people and how to interact within a certain guidelines. Now, people can do whatever they want. Once they read this, they can do whatever they want. Okay, but my point is that a lot of people say things, do things that offend other people, and they don't know why. Like, they might have had a conversation with a coworker or one of their neighbors, and they may have said something that they didn't realize, what they said was enough to turn this person off and reject their friendship forever. Because some people really don't understand, how to communicate, and that's a combination of following a certain tradition. It's a combination of maybe being a part of a certain affiliation. I'm not talking just religious. It could be a certain group of people being raised a certain way. Whatever, it could be a combination of whatever. So I'm just basically telling people, this, you have this sort of behavioral trait, then this is a consequence of it, and then these sort of issues could escalate into things that relate to legal issues, okay? Which I think is really important, right? And of course, when I'm writing all this stuff out, I'm thinking about the situation, that the problems that I went through. And in my case of human trafficking, it involved a lot of different elements. Now, I know when people talk about human trafficking is pretty much defined into two different categories. One, labor, and number two, sex trafficking. Okay, I would say in my case, it kind of the combination is both, because when you think about forced marriages do fall under the category of sex trafficking. Now, most of the time when we think of forced marriages, it's usually like the forced marriages where somebody comes from a different country, and usually the religion is like maybe like an Eastern type religion where women have really like no rights or whatever. But this sort of stuff does happen here in the United States. Okay, what I'm referring to is, like, for example, maybe somebody wants to marry you, or they want you to merge finances with this particular person. So then they, operate things behind the scenes and put a woman into a job. If a woman shows that she has no interest in that person, then the woman's employment becomes terminated, right? That's a form of forced marriages. When they're looking at the possibility of trying to merge two people together to live as one and operate financially together at the same time. Okay, so there's a lot of information that I want to be able to convey and make people understand. Now, I did get some flashbacks this morning, and because I really wanted to understand like what happened to the Patreon money? What happened to the Ko-fi money? What happened to all of that? Now, I do have my suspicions that I might have made money on it. I don't want to think about it too deeply because the thought of somebody stealing from me in the situation that I was is just too devastating to me. To me, that's just like outright, you are fucking evil. There is no excuse for it. Okay, there is no excuse for it. Okay, because their compensation is lame. Okay, it's like, okay, this is what I'm saying is backwards. If, let's just say, for example, they stole my money, right? And in their mind, and they're thinking, okay, well, we took her money as compensation, we'll give her a job. Now, let me explain something. If you have the talent and the skills to make a decent chunk of change, right? That is a blessing, that is a talent, and that is something you should be compensated for legally. And it just makes common sense. Okay, some people are going to be at have more of an advantage when it comes to their skills and their talents or whatever, so that they're able to, maybe either create or whatever and get compensation from that. If they have their own business, if they perform a service and it's unique and people can pay for it, that makes it, let's just say, for example, I was a millionaire. I made $1 million or maybe more with a Patreon or Ko-fi. Okay. As an example. And let's just say the Mormon Church, Rex Laverne and his little weird associates decided to take my money because in their deluded mind, they thought that they were righteous and that they had favor by God to take and break the law, and that they had every right to take my money because they were the Mormon Church. Okay. So as compensation, they're like, oh, well, she can have a job. Okay. Now let me explain what happens to you at a job. A job is toiling. In this world, you want to toil is hell. Okay, to apply for a job is hell. To have to work have to deal with the combination of the rude people that I've dealt with in the past is hell. Okay, so they wanted to prevent me from being the person and reaping their true rewards that I really have. So that's bullshit to say, oh, this compensation. So if we take your, let's just say, for example, I made $1 million or more. We took your $1 million and you could have a job. What kind of thinking is that? Okay, that's moronic, and obviously it's evil, and it's not balanced. It's not balanced. Because let's just say, for example, if I had $1 million, okay, chances are $1 million at my age would last me for the rest of my life. Now, if I'm being given employment as a form of compensation, guess what? I could work the rest of my life. Till I'm tired, old, and my back is broken, I still have to work. That to me is the same slave hell mentality, the same sort of hamster wheel type mentality. It is no compensation. Okay, it's a slap in the fucking face is basically what it is. And yes, I'm a little upset today. I'm upset today because it's like, I'm angry, and I'm always going to be angry at this. Okay, because right now I am without a car. I'm without a car. And I do believe that when they took my money, they purposely put me in this situation to not have my own form of transportation because it's a form of the abuse. It's a form of their need to control. Also, Mormons and these particular religious groups determine they live for the material plane. Okay, this is one of the reasons why I was talking about earlier, about the two different versions of the New World Order. Like Jehovah's Witnesses, they believe that, everything's going to be free. Everybody just lives off, the land, and they could, get by without currency, right? But we have the Mormons, and I'm not trying to bash Mormons, but I have the right to be angry. Okay, I have the right to be angry because if they were giving me employment as some form of compensation, then that's bullshit, number one. Okay, but I should be able to be employed whenever I want to, however I want to, and as fast as I want to. But I'm not, huh? See, it's their inability to understand what is fair. It is their arrogance, and it's their what do you call it? Their unfortunate lack of understanding of the law. Okay, this is why a lot of these people ended up killing themselves, and a lot of people went to jail. Okay, because they knew it was wrong. And no, giving me employment as an exchange for taking my money, if there was money. And I do believe that there was. I suspect that there was. And it was probably a pretty good chunk of change. Considering the fact that I am King Solomon, I'm pretty sure that was a big chunk of change. So offering me employment in exchange for what there was taken from me, I'm not employed right now. I'm sitting at home. You know what I mean? I'm sitting at home. I still have dental work that I need to get done. Okay, I would have been able to pay for it myself. So you see what I'm saying? It's like the real reasons why I am self-sufficient as Maria Gordon is because people cannot do anything for me, and this is what I understand. I fully understand. I take control of my own life because people usually just serve as one purpose for me, to be obstacles. Okay? It's like I want to make my own plans. I try to take care of myself. I would have never been in this situation. So they purposely, and this is because it's such a widespread thing, okay? I want people to really start thinking. If you're without a car, if are not able to pay your bills, and the Mormons, obviously, I'm not the only person that they targeted, is like you need to understand these things are done deliberately. Because the Mormon church believes that your worth is tied to your net worth, or it's tied to the kind of material objects that you have. Okay, now I will tell you, I do not have material objects. Most of my stuff is used. I keep my stuff in these sort of like what do you call it, like eco type furniture. I have plastic furniture. I have particle board type furniture, because I don't have high dollar in stuff. Okay, but the thing is that they want to make sure that you don't. It's not that, and they do. They've done this to control my life, which they had no right to. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about. These underground networks that work through churches, political affiliations, hate groups like, the Ku Klux Klan and all these other things, okay? Because they know that I have done well for myself in the past, and they put things in place to make sure that you don't this time. Okay? And I think it's unfair. It's wrong. Why is it that I am not able to secure any sort of wealth of my own? Generational wealth. Why isn't it so that I cannot buy a house? You know why? Because they don't want you to. And it's not because I'm not allowed to. They like to create obstacles to prevent that from happening. And don't get me wrong, I'm fine. I don't need a house. You know what I mean? I would like to buy like a little tiny house, or maybe like a little camper or something, because I really do want to think about being in one place for the rest of my life. Okay? Now, if I made money from these particular platforms, that was mine. And good and well, these idiotic people know good and well that it is not a fair trade. It is not a fair trade. If you're able to make money off of your projects, right? And let's just say, for example, I made $1 million or whatever like that, okay? They made $1 million off my project. That's success. That means I'm successful. Okay? And it's like, they want to make sure that I never get any sort of acknowledgement. See, and yet Rex Laverne wanted to put his hand on me and act like he was my friend. This is why I do not like these people. Okay? It's like their definition of friend is somebody that they don't mind taking advantage of. They want to have you around so they can take your stuff. Okay, but they want you in their circle. That is not my definition of friendship. And I know I've complained about this stuff before, but it just gets a little bit deeper when I think about it. You know what I mean? Of course, I'm angry because one of the signs of you being in human trafficking is the fact that they take your vehicle. That's a sign. Okay, they knew good and well, these people knew good and well I was trying to find a job. They knew I was trying to get my bills paid, and they took my money. Or they prevented me from having money and said, oh, she can have a job. Can I have any job I want? If you took that much money from me, can I have any job I want? I've been looking for a job for at least 3 weeks now. I haven't found anything. Okay? These people are full of shit, is what they are. Anyway, and yes, I have every right to get upset and angry, okay? Because right now, I'm just like, the more I think about this, the more angry I'm starting to get. And it could just blow away some other time, but whatever. This is one of the dangers of people who believe in religion has some sort of sense of superiority. Okay, now I will say what Mormons do value, or religions like Mormons, okay, they value money. And like I said, money to me is a means to an end. I get it. I need to pay rent. I need to pay money. I need to have a job. You know what I mean? I was willing to I was hoping I could make money off of Patreon or whatever. But they had no right no right, and they took my stuff illegally and thought that, oh, she can have a job, and they get it at me, sending me over to Rex Laverne's place, which was a joke. You know what I mean? If I'm supposed to have a job, why am I supposed to have a job that lets me demonstrate my skills or something that I'm really passionate about? Or are you just giving me some other shitty job? That was another shitty job. Plus, it had a shitty title. So these people are not doing anything fair. These people are only nothing more than liars. That's all they are. Also, the reason why they took my Patreon money is because they perceived me to be somebody who was nice looking. Now, like I said, I got crooked teeth. I'm okay. Okay. But this is what they wanted to, reduce the quality of my life. Okay. This is what Mormons do, or this is a part of their religious view. Okay. For their own reasons. They had reasons, relating to, population control, meaning they were hoping that they could increase the numbers of their race or control white women, so and that's just fine and dandy. You do that. No, I don't believe they should do that, right? But my point is, it's like, okay, I'm not white or a Mormon. So, but the point is, it's like, I know this goes back to a past life and stuff, and it's really hard, like when you're writing stuff that's for educational purposes, and it's for the public. So I'm leaving anything that relates to my spirituality out of it. I'm not talking about, me going back to C.B. Braganza. None of that is relevant in what I'm writing. Because, like I said, I'm hoping that the entire state of California hopefully will read it. And I don't think it's appropriate for me to sit here and talk about, me being C. Braganza, cloning, and all this other issue. Although, I do think cloning should be a part of it because it can be very unethical. Very unethical. Thinking that somebody would be able to do what they do because they have no regard for who you are. Okay. I am very angry at the Mormon Church, and I will never forgive them. Never. And like I remember when I was younger, my dad used to say, don't go by the Mormon Church, go around it if you could, and it's funny because like now that I'm walking, I have to go past the Mormon Church when I go to like Walmart or whatever to pick up my clothes, my groceries, okay, because that's the closest place I can go. And I'll tell you what, I can't stand going by it. I really can't. I mean, these people have no idea how evil they are. They are evil. You know what I mean? They're evil. They did not want me to have anything, and they wanted complete and total control of what I had. That is so illegal. So illegal. You had no right to touch my stuff. Okay, and I'm glad members of your church committed suicide, and I'm glad a lot of these people are in jail. I cannot be blamed for any of that. That is all on you. And I was going to talk about, how they keep other people silent about this issue. Okay, and I will talk to you about the dangers of people thinking it's okay to shadow ban you and try to make you silence you. The very fact that they silenced me and they made it so that people would not communicate with me at one time, like I don't know if it's Rex Laverne telling people, oh, don't pay attention to her. As long as she's dressed up, you don't talk to her. She's excluded. That was illegal. Okay. But also, blocking me out on social media. Let me tell you how easy it is to get away with murdering somebody when you do these sort of operations. Okay? And then try to give me the title saying that, oh, something's mentally wrong with her. Okay? I'm glad Rex Laverne's dead. I'm very glad he's dead. Okay? And I'm glad his stupid little Mormon friends are dead too. I wish those churches would close. I don't know. And see, the only thing that makes me think that these people are continuing to be members, what are you using, force? What are you using, force? You know what I mean? Whatever. Anyway, I had to just let that out today because I am so angry right now because, I am bored. I need to get out of the house. And if their little exchange of, oh, okay, well, we're going to handle her Patreon stuff and then we'll give her a job. Well, then I should have my job, and the kind of job I want, when I want, how I want, immediately. Okay? These people have nothing. I mean, I'm going to tell you what. These people are nothing. These people are absolutely nothing but liars. They are the imitation of who their true father is, which is the devil. And I know that they wanted to call me the devil. I know that they did because I'm an independent person. You know what I mean? And, like I said, I died in 1956. I was more than willing to get off this fucking earth. Why would I want to be on it? There is nothing here, okay? And hopefully, when I start, initiating the moral reset, I hope things go well. I hope people take it seriously, and I hope that the population will thin out to where only decent people could be here. I mean, that would be great, but like I can only control so much. I could put the information out there. I would need, the assistance of law enforcement or whatever. But anyway, the issue with the Mormon thing really pisses me off. It really pisses me off because I have psychological problems applying for jobs, interviewing for jobs, and these people fucked with my money. I wanted to avoid all that at the time. Now I have to sit here and deal with that shit all over again. I have to go to the library and look for work, and then I have to have some stupid person calling me acting like they don't know who I am. You know what I mean? It drives me crazy. It really does. And I do not want to work for, I mean, if I'm going back to work, I really don't want to have to deal with being under somebody's management. Okay? Because I'm tired of inferior management. I'm tired of having to deal with it. So I want something decent. Okay, and that makes sense. Okay, all I care about, and I do not want, and I am so done with the days of Murray Family. If I enjoy my job, then I stay for longer than I want to. Okay, but now that I look back at all the things that I got for being the ideal employee, I didn't get shit for being the ideal employee. All I got was abused. All I got was abused. So yeah, I'm upset right now because writing out this information is getting me like really pissed off, thinking about what these people have taken from me and the obvious signs of human trafficking. And I am excited to talk a little bit more about this in the Moral Reset, the human trafficking as well as gang stalking and how these two converge. But like I said, I do want to share this with some people before, it gets widely circulated. I am upset because, I just, it's strange that these people that were around, I don't know, their standards were low. Okay, how do religious groups or people who participate in human trafficking, regardless whether they're religious or not, how do they keep people quiet? Is that they sell you out. Okay, so like my sisters sold me out. Why? They were convinced that I was a sinner. Okay, they were convinced that I was a sinner because I was not a member of that church. Now I noticed a bunch of people joined and became Mormons. I remember there was a girl I used to go to school with. Her name was Lisa. She grew up Catholic. Now I believe she converted to the Mormon Church, and I suspect that she committed suicide. Okay, the thing is what they do is they give people the opportunity to advance their career at your expense. The thing is they give people incentives to betray you. That's what they do for fun. And this is why I don't communicate with these people anymore. They don't talk to me anymore. They don't have the ability to look me in the eye anymore. And that's what they did. They sold me out. So why in the hell would I have anything to do with them? I wouldn't. You know what I mean? They're terrorists, and if she ended up killing herself, she really deserved to kill herself. Okay? You don't sell people out for this sort of stuff. But see, Mormon people, or people, I'm not going to just say you Mormons. I'm going to talk about religious corruption. Okay, this is the kind of stuff that they do. You know what I mean? And then today I wanted to explain, the different forms of human trafficking. And even though some of the different forms of human trafficking don't necessarily apply to me, I am still including it into the moral reset. Okay. Now, I was thinking about, how they encourage members of your own family to go against you. They keep it as a covert, this is a covert operation. And the reason why it's covert, and I'm going to let you know right now, before the moral reset gets released, okay? Any covert operations that are launched out, you need to be leery of. There should never be any covert operations. Covert means like secretive, to where they're talking to your kid, okay, or a minor. They'll use a minor, or even members of your family in general, okay. But they will go so far to use members of your family who are children against you, okay. Now I'm going to tell you, me and my son, we have never talked about the whole gang stalking thing. But what I'm angry about is no one had the right to ever indoctrinate my minor child Okay? They didn't have the right to do that. I have the right to raise my son to believe whatever he wants to believe, whatever we want to believe. Okay? But they were talking about, the different kinds of, like, their exploitation, and I also wanted to explain, what child soldiers are. Now, child soldiers are generally thought of as, like, people who strap bombs on themselves. They usually associate it with certain militaries of different countries. Okay, like here in the United States, I would think we're more civilized. We don't need to do that sort of stuff. But here, I'm going to read this to you, and you decide. Okay, children in the military. This is what a child soldier is. Children in the military, including state armed forces, non-state armed forces, and other military organizations, may be trained for combat, assigned to support roles such as cooks, porters, couriers, or messengers, or used for tactical advantages such as for human shields or for political advantages in propaganda. Children have been recruited for participation in military operations and campaigns throughout history and in other cultures. Now, I was looking this up on AI. There was another definition that they provided, not just as relating to military, but it also said other non-state armed groups or in other groups specifically. Okay, so that could be like any group that basically uses children to promote their propaganda or whatever. Could be using them as shields, could be using them as spies, right? Informants, right? The Mormon Church, I am beyond angry with them. Okay, so then my family, Lisa, Tanya, Sean, their spouses, whatever, were all encouraged by the Mormon Church to not just talk to me, and they were encouraged and given incentives like jobs and opportunities to have nothing to do with me. Okay, they're evil. Okay, I don't ever want to have any sort of thing. I cannot deal with Mormons. Okay, it's not that I'm not. It's not me being unfair. It's just the fact that these people are goddamn demonic. They're plain and simple demonic, and they don't go so far. They will not. They will not see anything wrong with using children. Now, I do know in some of my conversations with there was this one lady I was babysitting for her, and she had this really enthusiastic kid. And like I said, I don't have anything against people who practice religion, people who want to call themselves Christian. That's fine. I've never had a problem with that. Okay, I do have a problem when they do this kind of stuff. Okay, you want to go to church, you want to pray, you want to pray to Jesus, you want to get baptized, you want to have a church wedding, you want to have all that stuff. You want to be a part of a church. That's fine. Okay, but you have no right to touch that sort of stuff. Now, this particular kid, he was saying while I was babysitting him, I will kill for Jesus. I will kill for Jesus. I do know that some Christian organizations have what they call Soldiers for Christ, which to me seems a lot like these children that I was talking about. These what do you call them? Child soldiers. Okay, but let me give you the definition for what Soldiers for Christ refers to: individuals who actively live out their faith in Jesus. Okay, there's nothing really wrong with that. Often linked to soldiers in a spiritual army, committing to serve God and spreading His message. The concept emphasizes obedience, discipline, and a strong connection to prayer and Scripture as essential elements of a believer's life. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. However, when they use religion to become like this us versus them thing, and having family members turn on other family members, that I cannot put up with. I mean, that is a lot of religious indoctrination. It is wrong. And obviously it's something that borderlines illegal because of the activity and the covert nature of the program. So yeah, I'm taking my time putting this together, and I did talk about, me postponing it, the deadline a little bit longer. I didn't think I was gonna, get so informative, but yeah, I mean, I really want to be thorough in this. I think, what bothers me is the fact that so many people who were involved in this were, I'm just going to say that I don't see how people could not know that this was wrong. I don't know how anybody could think, unless, of course, they convince themselves through things like, cognitive dissonance. And this is what a lot of people fall into. They want to, convince themselves that, oh, this is a righteous thing, or it's okay to do it because, she doesn't belong to a church. You know what? That's what I was talking about. Divine providence or man-made manipulation. You know what I mean? The Mormon churches and they're giving people opportunities to betray other people is manipulation. Okay? These people have been in competition with me for the longest time, and I don't want to be in competition with these people. Or anybody. You know what I mean? But I do have the right to excel. I have the right to make my own money. I have the right to have my own business. I have the right to have, a business license, to have a brick and mortar or an online business or whatever. I have the right to do that. These people have no right to put any limitations on me. So they'll go around, they go around and tell people, oh, don't do this with her, don't do this with her, whatever. I would say that I'm the most God-fearing person that you could ever imagine. You know what I mean? It's just the fact that I don't believe in their religion. And I don't recall, attacking their religion, at any time in my adult life. I remember who they were from childhood. I didn't really want anything to do with them. To me, they were just like, I don't want anything to do with that religion. So that's one of the reasons why I kept thinking, okay, was it my sister, my family, my kids, the kids I went to school with? Was it Jehovah's Witnesses? Who I saw this morning, by the way. Some 2 Jehovah's Witness ladies pulled up on the side of me, and they were waving, and they stuck out the watchtower to me. Okay, and I'm sure a lot of people know who I am in this community, and no offense or anything like that, but I would appreciate if people would just leave me alone. I do not want to be a part of religion. I do not want people communicating with me with religion, okay? It's no offense. I don't want it. So please don't come around me. Do not come to my door. Do not communicate with me. Do not try to prophesize to me about your religion. You are more than welcome to talk to anybody else. I do not want your religion. You will never convince me to belong to anything like that, okay? I do not want religion in my life. It has nothing to do with me not having any morals. It had nothing to do with that. Okay? It's just that I don't believe in it. I don't believe in your version. Okay? And at this point, I'm just coming out and saying it. Please don't. And I'm sure those ladies are very nice. I'm sure they are. Okay? But at this point, I do not want any part of religion in any way, shape, or form. And that's my choice. Okay? I do want to apologize to certain people because I didn't realize, I remember getting very angry and saying a bunch of things, about the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I do believe that some members were recruited for this. Okay. That was something you should not have done. Okay. But I do think the full weight of the responsibility should fall on the Mormon Church, right? It should fall on them for the propaganda. And, I also want to apologize to certain people that, I've talked about. But at the same time, I can't really say these people are innocent because these people sold me out. Okay? And they're really, I can't sit there and say, oh, I can overlook that. I can't do that. I won't forgive that. These people to me have very skewed logic. Skewed logic to think that any of this was okay. Like I said, it's not fair equal compensation if you're taking millions from me and then giving me shit jobs or letting me, go anytime without being unemployed. There is no equal compensation. You know what I mean? I don't even have my own car, and they make sure of that. One of the signs of being a victim of human trafficking is being stuck in a carpool. So I understand this. They don't want you to have a car. They don't want you to do this. They don't want you to pay off your bills. They don't want you having anything. Okay? So I fully understand. So I'm very glad that, the Mormon influence has been removed. I believe I got this message, the Mormon influence has been removed from the White House. Good. I'm glad that, the Mormons have, a lot of the members have killed themselves. Good. I'm glad. Every day I keep thinking, I only wish I could have saw Rex Laverne die. That sounds, you think that sounds horrible, right? Let me tell you something. I'm somebody who works very hard for everything that I have. I don't believe in, I do not believe in asking handouts for anything. I have worked for everything that I have, and I'm able and willing to put in the work. Like when I did those videos for Patreon, that was my work. That was my hard work. You cannot sit here and say that that's equal measure for measure. It is not. It is not. You know, it's a skewed type logic that I cannot deal with. It is not equal. Meaning equal, and I'm not talking about racial equality. I'm saying we're going to take this from you, and then we'll just give her a job. We'll just give her a job. And it was at Rex the Burns place, you know, and it was very, you know, I mean, the job was decent. You know why it was decent? Because I really didn't have to interact with these people. You know what I mean? I was in my little space there doing my little work, whatever. But mind you, I will not do dispatch work. I'm not going to do anything that's not on my fucking resume. You know what I mean? I don't get shit from being associated with this group that I wanted nothing to do with. And yeah, it's one of those days where I'm very angry right now. Okay? Because like I said, you know, certain things as I'm writing, it starts to like creep up to me. And starts making me think, okay, you know, why is it that I have to explain this to people? I'm supposed to be among all these educated people. I'm supposed to be around people that you know, but they're not. And I get it. You know, it gets very tiring being me sometimes. You know, it's very frustrating being me. Can I really be happy around people knowing that they're, you know, incapable of being honest? No, it's a nightmare. It really is a nightmare. You know what I mean? The Nazi experiment should have never happened. They should have never brought me back. They should have never fucking brought me back. I didn't ask to be put in this situation. You know what I mean? And this is why I resent it so much. It's like, you know, I'm sitting here, you know, I want to feel a sense of accomplishment in my own life. And unfortunately, they take it upon themselves to, you know, create obstacles for people. If they had divine providence, you know, they wouldn't have to do something like me. If they had the real power of God, they wouldn't be doing this. All right? They wouldn't do it. But they use these, like, you know, man-made efforts to do these sort of things. And I have no respect for it. So, like, you know, when it comes to, like, my sisters who betrayed me, and it becomes to, you know, all the kids that I knew in school who betrayed me, you guys have blood on your hands, as far as I'm concerned. If you're not dead already. Yeah, it's one of those days. I'm very angry. Very angry that I ever got sucked up into this. Never asked for it. Never asked for it. You know, Christianity, like I said, you know, there's some Christians that play victim. Like I'll read things about like Christians talking about, oh, we're so persecuted. And don't get me wrong. Like I said, I have nothing against people who truly love God, who call themselves Christian, who want to be a part of a church or whatever. I have nothing against that. Okay, but I'm talking about these people who do illegal stuff. Okay, and then turn around like, oh, I don't know why everybody hates Christians because of this sort of stuff. Okay, and then they'll try to say, oh, it's because you don't love God or you're a sinner. It has nothing to do with that. Corruption, Christian churches are run by men. Men who are capable of sin in every other thing that a man is capable of. When I say man, I'm talking about human beings in general. Male, female, whatever. Mankind, whatever. You know what I mean? Christianity, religion is man-made. And this is one of the reasons why I identified this and I understand this. And I chose as an adult not to have anything to do with it. But they forced themselves on me. And then, you know, created underground networks to tell other people to shut me out, to control my employment. You know what I mean? My employment. I'm not even working right now. So, you know, anybody who thinks that these people leveled up or squared up or played fair or that my compensation is equal measure for measure, I'm going to say that it wasn't. Okay? These people are corrupt, and I will never forgive them. Never. And you could say, oh, you have to. No, I do not. I don't have to forgive that. There are certain things you can forgive. You know what I mean? I can forgive, you know, like I said, somebody accidentally does something to me. Bumps into my car. You know what I mean? Drops something that belongs to me that I had for a long time. An accident. You know, those things I can understand. But this was a concerted effort to destroy my life. You know what I mean? And mock me at the same time. This is one of the reasons why they give special favors to people that you know. Okay? Because they really, really want to make sure that they hurt you. Now, mind you, the people that I used to know in high school, I haven't really seen in a long time. So it's not that I have this, like, deep emotional feel to it, but it's the fact that they would do that. You know what I mean? So when it comes down to having friends, we don't have friends in this world. We have associates, we have acquaintances, but a friend, my friend, would never do that. If you're my friend, you would not do that. That's not what a friend is. And so that's why I hated Rex Laverne touching me. He was like trying to touch me like this. I wanted to kill him. You know what I mean? He was like so disgusting to me. You know what I mean? For me to be able to watch his head blow wide open and his brain splatter on the wall, I would have been just absolutely ecstatic. What a piece of shit he was. I hate that man. I hate that man. He was the epitome of evil. How dare you waste my life? How dare I waste... Every single day that I'm sitting here without a job, these people have just screwed my ass over. I have to sit here and go to the library and look for work again tomorrow. You know? And it gets really tiring. You know? Now, if that was my money that they took, I was hoping I could avoid all of that. Never have to deal with anybody. Just give me my stuff so I can sit here and like make up my... I have the right to have and retain generational wealth. Why can't I? Oh, because the Mormons don't like it. These people have done so much to me. All because they did not want me to be nice looking. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, they don't mind having the celebrities that they manipulate look nice on stage. Like I said, Marie Osmond, she looked nice on stage. And I know all this issue has blown over. Okay, but it's the fact that I am 54 years old and I am sitting here without a job, and these people thinking, oh yeah, that's fair. We'll let her have her job. That's fine. No, it is not fine. Okay? If I live another 20 years, I am never going to be... If I made $1 million, which I think I actually made more than that. I haven't confirmed it, but I suspect. Okay? That's still... And I work another 20 years. That's still not going to be the equivalent of what you've taken. See, and this is one of the reasons why, just another reason why. This chick flies solo. Okay? I don't like people who sit here and who think that they want to, like, I hate working as a team a lot of times in work contexts. You know why? Because I'm the one who does all the work. I'm the one who cares about it. I promote myself. I don't like mergers or people thinking that they can, like, take credit for my work. That pisses me off. Because I'm a real worker. Honest to goodness. Okay? And as being a clone and somebody who does get work assistance from, like, my soul tribe and stuff, I want you to know I have never taken advantage of that. I have always done my best to get to work on time. Yeah, I've been late a few times in the last few, I would say, years or so. Mainly because I'm dragged down by human trafficking. But I want you to think about the days when I would get there early, when I would work there late. I would do all kinds of stuff. I never once thought, oh, I'm going to take advantage of, because I didn't know I was a clone or anything. I didn't know that, okay? But I've never tried to take advantage of anybody. I have the hardest work ethic that you could ever believe. And nobody instilled that in me. I am 100%, self-made, self-driven, self-disciplined. So I don't need people telling me shit. Okay? I'm very angry. Very angry. So now, I'm in a really bad mood right now. And I just wanted to say that to get it off my chest because I am very upset right now. Because I want so badly to get on with my life. And I'm like, I don't know, what kind of bullshit box do these people always want to play? And it's like, oh, she can have employment, but she can't own a business. You don't have the right to tell me what I can and cannot do. I mean, it's beyond angry. Okay, so I'm going to tell people right now, do not trust Patreon. If you have an active account with them and they're being honest with you, I guess you should be lucky. You're probably, I'm going to assume that you don't have any morals. Why? Because you're probably Mormon. That's probably why. Or somebody who adheres to one of those sort of belief systems. Okay? But if you are somebody who creates content, be very careful about what you put online. Okay? I'm very hurt that somebody took my money. You know why? Because I put a lot of time in that. And I already went through a nightmare in the work sector. I already went through a nightmare. I was trying to protect myself from more trauma. And you know what these people gave me? More fucking trauma. Okay? I want nothing to do with fucking Mormons. Okay, I'm going to wrap up this video. I just had to say it. I am so upset. Anyway, I do want to give a couple shout outs to who's on my mind right now. John Taylor from Duran Duran. I want to say hello to him. I want to say hello to Donald Trump. I want to say hello to, I don't know why, but it just popped into my head this morning. I was thinking about Belinda Carlisle this morning. I remember listening to you when I was a teenager. What else? I also wanted to say hello to King Charles. And these are the people that are in my head. Oh, yeah, and also Princess Anne, which I'm a huge fan of. Okay, I love how you handle birds. You're just so awesome. Anyway, wrapping up this video. Take care. Bye.